Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me. So today I wanted to briefly touch on funding. This is a big issue that a lot of people really face when they try to decide whether medicine is still viable for them, especially at a later stage in their lives. So as we are older, we have more responsibilities, we have more dreams, we have more endeavors, projects and things that we might be working on that have taken the majority of our time and our concentration. So you might need to decide how medicine, as demanding as it is going to fit into that busy life that you've already created. And one of the biggest things about medicine is the funding, is the financial part of it is very daunting because medicine takes so many years to complete. So if I'm on the course that is taking 5 years right now, but with the route that I've gone through in total, it's going to be 6 years. That is 6 years of financial struggle that you need to account for. So it's a big financial decision, not just for you, but for your family, for your other responsibilities, your dependents, your dreams, your other interests. You have to really make that decision in a realistic manner. Not to say that there are no ways of working things out. There are so many people who are very lucky and who might not struggle in that way, and that is such a big blessing. But for most people, I speak, specifically, particularly for me, finances were a big letdown in, trying to decide whether I can do this. But knowing myself and how I've always wanted to do this, financial burden, I've been through it. I've been through worse situations than I can ever dream of. So I felt like if I get the opportunity, that's God's way of opening that door for me. So the finances, I will find a way of fixing that issue. And I can fairly say, moving through this journey, it's by faith. It's not because I have everything figured it out. It's all by faith. So this might have touched a little bit of inspiration, a little bit motivation for you to go for it, but nonetheless you have to be realistic about the financial position because it's going to get worse because of the demand of this course, the length, the time, and the effort that you have to put in. So first and foremost, if you are a mature student, you're likely to have another degree. I have another degree. So if you have another degree, that somehow works to your disadvantage here in the UK, because if you take the route that I've taken, then you don't really get tuition fees funded for you by Student Finance England. So you have to come up with that sum of money that currently amounts to £9,250. Now that is a lot of money, and that is per year. So when you have a degree, you don't get tuition fees, you don't get tuition loans. So that is the first thing you need to think about. How are you going to manage to pay your tuition fees? Another thing is that you can get maintenance loans, but that is based on your household income. Now, the reason why this is a bit tricky is because depending on where you live, depending on your age, this can affect how much money you get. So for instance, I need to look this up to be sure. But I do believe if you're under, let's say 25, then they might still consider your parents' income, which most of the time will pass the threshold, which is about £25,000 per year. So you might not get anything, or you might get less than what you might be entitled to. And other things that if you obviously live with your parents, definitely they will consider their household income, their income from their salaries, which is possibly going to go above the threshold. And then if you live far away from your parents, but you're still under 25, that might still not really work out in your favor. So it might work out to your disadvantage because of the age factor. And then, so now you need to think about how much you can get from that. For me, I had to really be realistic about this whole thing. So because the maintenance loan is based on household income, if you live with someone who works, obviously their income is going to be accounted for. So for me to cover my tuition fees, I had to make the decision of working whilst I study to be able to fund for the tuition fees. So I do 2 nights a week, and it's a very difficult thing to do, but if I don't do it, I won't be able to afford paying the tuition fees. I won't be able to continue the course because there is just no other funding. So that is the thing. You need to consider that. If you have children, like I do, I have a son, and I can't go to school with my son. So I have to start considering how I'm going to fund, his childcare. Where am I going to be leaving him? What's going to happen to him? Who's going to look after him when I'm going for my lectures? So that's a big issue, and that is a big responsibility. So you need to know how you're going to fund that. Now, student finance can provide childcare grant, but that is based on your household income, and it's unfortunately, but the household income, the threshold is very, very low. I was just looking it up, and it was about 9,000. That is literally the maximum at which you might be able to receive something. Anything beyond that, 9,000 per year, then you don't receive anything at all. Now, even if you're working part-time, you are likely to surpass £9,000 per year in salary, and that is before taxes. So that means the chances of you getting childcare grant is so minuscule, and so many people just don't see the need to even work. Because if you're working, you're going to go above the threshold, and you're not going to get any funding for childcare. So that's another scenario you need to consider. I'll try to provide more information, more detailed information, but I just wanted to give you like a clue of what you might start to consider when you're venturing into starting medicine. Another thing, you might get parental allowance, but again, it's based on household income. And if you have like dependents, like if you have an adult that depends on you, let's say you have an elderly mother that you look after, you might be able to get some help from student finance. So all of those things, you need to start thinking about them, because when it comes to the application process, you need to have all the information that you require, because it can be quite daunting, it can be quite tedious. So you need to get your financial affairs in order before you actually begin the course.